The legacy of the Maronite Church began in Antioch, where the disciples were called Christians for the first time. Saint Maron became the spiritual father, and Maronites prospered through the early development of the church in the Middle East. The Maronite immigration to the United States began in the late 1800s, and eventually Pope Paul VI assigned Archbishop Zayek as the first bishop in 1966. Maronites today bear a unique legacy. They possess a history of their own, but have never been out of communion with the Roman Catholic Church, and currently stand poised for an exciting new chapter in their history. Today, the traditions are being taught to a new group of seminarians, even as preparations are underway for a Maronite chapel in the National Shrine in Washington, D.C. Overseeing these exciting developments is Bishop Gregory Mansour of the Eparchy of St. Maron. Since his enthronement in May of 2004, Bishop Gregory has shepherded his eparchy, one of only two in the United States, from his office in Brooklyn, New York.
Thank you for welcoming me into your churches, into your homes and your families. By God's grace, I have the privilege and also responsibility of being your bishop. And so I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about something very important, the church. I'm speaking to you today from our cathedral, Our Lady of Lebanon in Brooklyn, New York. Today, the church, probably the greatest gift that Jesus gave us. The Eparchy of St. Maron, eparchy, which is another word for diocese, means literally a portion of God's people entrusted to a bishop. But I'd like to expand that definition. It's not just entrusted to me as your bishop, but it's also entrusted to you. And so my purpose for this short video today is to welcome you to be even more invested, more committed into the church, your eparchy, your diocese, and to connect us with the culture of Jesus Christ from the Middle East and here in the United States.
The Eparchy of St. Maron extends to all Maronite Catholics in a 16-state region in the eastern United States, stretching from Maine to Florida. There are currently 40 individual parishes and missions within this region. Bishop Gregory is the third bishop in the history of the eparchy. He has the privilege of serving in the footsteps of his predecessors, Archbishop Francis Zayek and Bishop Stephen Hector Quae.
The bishop's role really is to preach the gospel, to live it, which is the hardest part, and to preach it, and to be for others like a disciple of Christ, an apostle of Christ. You see, we're in my office today. This is where I experience also my cross, having to make good decisions, sometimes hard decisions, for priests and people alike. It's the governing function of a bishop, where he must do what he believes is really the best.
Not far from the din and bustle of Manhattan, Our Lady of Lebanon Cathedral can be found on a quiet street corner in Brooklyn. From here, Bishop Gregory, Core Bishop Michael Thomas, and a small but dedicated staff manage the day-to-day affairs of the eparchy.
Michael Thomas, he's my Vicar General. He's also the Chancellor and also the Chief Financial Officer. We also have Camille and Marissa. Camille has been here longer than any of us. She has been the faithful secretary, more than a secretary, she's an administrative assistant. And Marissa assists her in the office. And that's it, a little lean and mean team that helps us to administer the eparchy. So some practical things. We have a pro-life office. We have a catechesis office. We have a liturgy committee. We have youth, young adults, young children. We have the Order of Charbel, the members of NAM. We have volunteers in every parish. Part of what I do as an overseer, episcopos, someone who looks over everything, is to make sure that financially all of our parishes, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing financially. I'm trying to make the best decisions I can for the welfare of our priests. They are first. The bishop's first concern is his priests. It's my responsibility to govern in a prudent way, which means good decisions, and to make the church accountable in every level, between the priests, the deacons, subdeacons, the catechists, the volunteers, the bishop, all of us to be accountable for what it is Christ gave us to do.
In 1961, the church purchased the O'Hanlon House in Washington, D.C. After the addition of a chapel, it became the first Maronite seminary in the United States later that year. Today, it continues to offer seminarians a solid Orthodox education, steeped in a rich and ancient cultural tradition.
We follow the requirements that are set up, first of all, from the Vatican, and secondly, from the American bishops. Our Maronite bishops are part of the American Bishops' Conference, and they set up the requirements as far as formation. But of course, having a Maronite seminary, we also want to add that whole dimension of what it is to be a Maronite priest.
But the priests that are now coming are trained in a very, very positive experience in our seminary in Washington. Plus they join with Latin Catholic seminarians, Latin Rite seminarians at Theological College, and they do their education at Dominican House and Catholic University.
We begin morning prayer at 7:30 in the morning. My typical day at school is usually from 9 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon.
Most of the courses are taken either at Catholic University or at the Dominican House of Studies or the Washington Theological Union. I say most of the courses, but we also here at the seminary provide courses in Maronite history, Maronite liturgy, theology, spirituality, courses in Arabic and Syriac, at least to learn the fundamentals. I believe up until this time we've probably ordained from the seminary about 65 priests. Probably about 75% of the parishes in the U.S. Are served by alumni from our seminary.
So it's a good day for us. And recently we had a discernment weekend at the seminary, and there were 9 different men from both dioceses. All of our priests now are being trained in seminary in Washington, D.C. Right now we have 4 seminarians there. We have 3 also in Lebanon. Those 3 in Lebanon will get good formation there, a couple years at least after we accept them, and then they'll continue their formation here in Washington.
Washington, D.C. is also the home of the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Bishop Gregory and his team are currently working with the National Shrine on plans for a Maronite chapel.
We are trying now for the first time to see if we can afford. We've already had all of the preliminary green lights, the Cardinal Regali, the board at the shrine, the rector of the shrine. They've all decided to give us a space appropriate for the Maronite Catholics. It will be the first time a Middle Eastern Christian group has a chance to have a little chapel at the shrine.
Located on the lower level are several meditation chapels. What is now office space will soon be transformed into a chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Lebanon. Soon, visitors to the National Shrine will be able to pray in a place evoking the beauty and rich cultural heritage of the Maronite Church.
So we're hoping that we can raise the funds and be part of the whole universal church. We don't want to be just Maronites in our own island. We're going forward, and we'll integrate ourselves even more within that Catholic, the Latin Catholic Church, and we'll integrate ourselves into the entire universal Maronite Catholic Church throughout the world. We have dioceses in Australia and Canada and Mexico and Brazil and Argentina, and about 15 dioceses in Lebanon and throughout the Middle East. Now with our own bishop, that integrates us into the Maronite Church more fully. But it also gives us an opportunity to be who we are, to be fully who we are with our own liturgy, with our own spirituality, with our own traditions, our customs. But the problem is to get us to be thinking as 40 different Maronite parishes, to be thinking about a diocese, an eparchy. This beautiful heritage that we have, the Maronite Catholic Church, placed in our hands, entrusted to us. I hope and pray that you will continue to help it to flourish and make your own piece, a mosaic of this Maronite Catholic Church in America.